Nice.
All right, we are live. Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of When the Cleats Come Off. I'm your host, Ashley Burkhart, and I have a great friend of mine on the other side of the mic. This is my good friend and competitor ever since we both got to college and played in the Big Ten, Kiki Stokes. I'm so pumped to have you here.
I'm so excited. This is going to be fun. I love things like this, and doing it with you is going to be even more fun. So let's get this thing underway.
I know. So I had to start off with this. So I was going through all of your records at Nebraska and all of these things that you did. And I was like, oh my gosh, when you look at the records that you have and what you've done, I looked at my stats and was like, oh my God, we're like two peas in a pod. Like all of the same things we loved about the game, like we were very similar in this way. And honestly, I hated playing against you. I'm going to be so honest. Like when you were on the other side of the field, I was like, this girl will not stop. Like whenever you're put in a clutch situation, you always make something amazing happen. And so I was like, dang. And then looking through all of your stats in Nebraska, I'm just like, dude, like this is like my doppelganger in so many ways. No, but I seriously, I have very, very good memories of us playing against each other on your home field at Nebraska. I think we played, it was my sophomore year, your freshman year. And you were already like making a great name for yourself as a freshman. I was like, oh my God, this girl's going to be.
Man, I mean, and that was honestly for me, my freshman and sophomore years, two of my worst years, in my opinion. I think that those were like, I could not figure myself out. And, you know, although I had maybe, you know, some slight, you know, hopes and glimpses of being really great, those were 2 years that I hate talking about.
Really? And you were already making a name for yourself in my eyes? That's awesome. So, so obviously the listeners are probably like, okay, if we don't know Kiki, we need to get to know her. So can you at least start us off with, I mean, who you are, where you're from, what travel ball teams you play for, like what was your upbringing like? And then we can get into the good old days in Nebraska.
Yeah. So I am originally from Maryville, Missouri, really, really small town. And we moved to Kansas City when I was probably in like second grade. So from second grade on, I lived in Kansas City, Olathe, Overland Park area, and grew up playing softball. Probably started when I was in first grade-ish, but really didn't start getting serious with it until about fourth grade. My very first team and the team that I stuck with predominantly through was the Hot Sticks. And then I ended up my last 2 years of high school playing with the DeMarini Aces now. But DeMarini Zephyrs was the team at the time. And honestly, when I was going through the recruiting process, I don't really remember it a ton. College softball was something that, you know, I was just starting to get into and thinking about, okay, maybe I could do this. I was also really big with basketball. So I didn't really understand really fully what I wanted to do until I got into high school. And I was like, all right, you know what? Basketball is probably not my calling. I love to play it, but softball is like really where I feel the most comfortable. And it's what seems like my outlet. And so started playing, going into my ninth grade year. So the summer going into my ninth grade year was the first time that I had gone to a Nebraska camp. And, you know, my coach had been trying to get me to go to camps just the whole time. He was like, I need you to, you know, experience what it's like to be on some of these campuses. And I didn't really quite understand it because, again, I didn't really know that that's what I wanted to do. And going into my ninth grade year, I went to a camp at Nebraska, and at the time, you know, they could talk to you about recruiting or anything like that. So they had really just, you know, talked to me about, you know, would I be interested in going to school there? And it was so easy for me to say yes, because I was just like, oh, this is what it's like? Like, absolutely. Like, sign me up. Like, I would love to go to school here. And I remember I verbally committed going into my ninth grade year that summer. And from there, it was just like history. Ended up finishing high school, and my first year at Nebraska was an absolute whirlwind and shock, to say the least. I knew that I was really talented, but I didn't know that I was going to have to work as hard. I mean, everybody in college literally is at just such a high caliber. I mean, I was playing against girls coming from California, Texas, all over the place. And little old me just couldn't figure out how to, compete with these kids at the time. And so I really struggled. I didn't know how to do anything but slap at the time. And I had a meeting with all three coaches, and they were like, look, if you don't leave here an All-American, that's on you, and it's partly on us because, I mean, you're that good that you could do it, but you got to start believing it and wanting to, work like that. Time goes by, sophomore year, I'm starting to, get it, feel it a little bit, and but I'm still just not quite there. And I'll never forget Michigan State was the turning point. We were at a series at Michigan State, and I was like, God, man, I'm tired of being like just so like overlooked. Everyone is just always passing me by. My teammates are doing more than me. Everybody's just doing more than me. And going into that summer, I was like, I'm working hard. Like no one's going to work harder than me. And junior year was like my breakout year. And finally I had learned how to hit. So that was like, the doors were open. I could slap, I could hit. I truly became a triple threat. And I really started to fall in love with the game all over again and just being, having fun. And like I said, it was a complete turnaround for me. That was one of my best years at Nebraska. And then senior year, same thing. Became an All-American junior year and senior year. And I was just like, my coaches never doubted me. I mean, they had literally told me my freshman year if I didn't become an All-American that it was on me. And it just kind of went to show like hard work does pay off. And that was kind of my career there. I mean, it was such an unbelievable time. They do say 4 years goes by fast, and I didn't believe it, but I loved every year there. And my fifth year, I ended up becoming an undergrad assistant. And then I actually took 5 years for schooling, and I wanted to do occupational therapy at the time, so that was kind of why I was planning out for 5, and then I ended up just graduating with a child youth and family sciences degree. And but I was like, I think I really want to coach. My 5th year, they kind of let me, help out a little bit. I wasn't a grad assistant, I was an undergrad assistant, so they kind of gave me little coaching roles and things like that, and I was like, I kind of like this. And then by my volunteer year, they convinced me to stay a 6th year, and I absolutely loved it. And they gave me so much free range. They trusted me and trusted the knowledge that I had for the game that I could teach. And I really understood, like, I have a calling for this because I love working with people and I love to help people, and seeing, even some of them were my teammates at one point, but seeing that they had so much like faith and they believed that the things that I was saying and trying to help them with that, I was like, okay, this is definitely my calling and this is what I want to do. And now I'm coaching, and this is my 3rd year at South Dakota State, and I absolutely love it, and I wouldn't change my whole journey for the world. So that's kind of a little bit of a nutshell. I did not talk about my professional career just yet, but we can get into that.
Oh, we're going there. We're going there. But, oh, man, there's so much I want to unpack from your story. And let's just start with the youth athlete part, because, like I said, we are kind of twins in a lot of ways. We both played basketball as well. Like I stopped playing basketball. I think it was going into my junior year of high school.
That's crazy.
Like,
same.
Basketball was like my other sport. It was like my other love until I realized how good I was getting at softball. And then I kind of parted ways from it. But how do you think basketball, and also something that you didn't mention that I looked up on you earlier, you played football when you were little. You were like,
I did.
I want to play football. Why did you want to play? Do you remember?
Yeah, so my brother, me and my brother were always really competitive. He's only 2 years older than me. And I mean, the reason why I started softball was because of him as well. But he played football all throughout high school. I played a little bit in college, and then obviously growing up. And I always remember like my dad just going to his practices and stuff like that. And I told my dad, I was like, I just want to play football. And he's like, I don't know. And I was like, no, like I just let me try. And sure enough, my 2nd grade year, I started tackle football, and there was just a little league in Kansas City that, every grade had, football, and tackle football started in 2nd grade. So I didn't even start with flag. I just jumped the gun and went right into tackle. And my dad was the coach at the time. And so it was actually like really fun. I mean, I still talk to guys that I played with. I played from 2nd grade through 6th grade. And then once I got into 7th grade, that was junior high at the time. So it was 7, 8, 9 was junior high in Kansas City. And I asked my dad, like, can I try out for the football team? And he was like, absolutely not. Like, the guys are going to keep getting bigger, and now you're going to stay the same size. Like, it's probably not a good idea, and you're playing softball. So, like, just to prevent from you, you know, getting hurt or anything like that, like, I think this is going to be the end of it. And I was so sad. But from 2nd grade to 6th grade, it was the coolest experience ever because I got to play football. And I mean, I was pretty good. The boys could never catch me. And then I thought it was so funny, though, because every time after the game, we take off our helmets and, you know, go shake hands with the other team, and everybody like, oh, that's a girl. That's a girl.
Oh my God.
And so I love football. It was a lot of fun, but that was just something that I think, like, I'm so glad that my dad allowed me to do anything that I wanted to do, because it really truly made me a better athlete overall. Like, I mean, softball, it's crazy to see that, like, just being athletic, like playing basketball even. I mean, I think that the two go hand in hand, whether it's being a good teammate, just working really hard. They all kind of go hand in hand. And I always say, you know, the more sports, the better. Obviously, at some point, you do kind of have to focus in a little bit on what it is that you love to do and what you want to do. And I think that, like I said, I figured that out. But there's nothing wrong with it by any means. So,
yeah. Do you think that playing with the boys for that long made you pretty tough?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was like, I could never cry. And not because my parents said I couldn't cry, but because I didn't want to cry, because, I mean, they were tough. That's what I wanted to be. And so I think, yeah, my brother we were so rough growing up. I mean, that's all we did. Tackle football in the backyard baseball. I mean, I was just always running around with the guys. So, and then when my little sister came along, my mom actually, it's funny because my mom is complete opposite. I mean, she did run track in college and things like that, but like she competes in beauty pageants. My mom growing up, she did. So she was Miss Kansas, Miss Missouri, and then now my sister is doing pageants, but she tried to get me into it, and I was like, this is not for me. I cannot do these. I cannot get all dolled up. I hated wearing dresses. I was just a big tomboy growing up, to be honest, and I loved being around the guys and doing things like that. So when my sister came along, we tried to get her into softball, and it did not go well. Yeah. She could not figure it out.
Man, so it's funny you say that, because I remember growing up, I had just had a bunch of guy friends because they have so much less drama than girls. Like,
that is it.
It's crazy how different. And that's the thing too. It's like, no, they weren't all my, like, I wasn't trying to be their girlfriend. I was literally just like, I like hanging out with you because you don't gossip and because you don't drive me nuts with all of these crazy things girls think about. But I had to ask, because I remember I was a lot similar, because I was a tomboy, and it was like people just didn't understand that I love talking about sports, and because of that, like, I didn't really have a whole lot of girls as friends growing up. But
my only girlfriends, I mean, even in elementary school, you know, the girls are over there jumping rope and, you know, playing something, and I'm over with the boys on the little backfield, and I'm playing tackle football at recess or kickball. Like, I just never, I never was into, you know, just not doing anything. I think I was just always that rough. So, I mean, it's definitely paid off in the long run, because I think I do have a really, really tough skin when it comes to just sports in general and figuring out a way to bounce back.
Exactly. Because for a while we had to deal with not being good compared to a lot of other people. I remember growing up, and there were boys in my neighborhood that were just really good at playing basketball and all these other things, and they would pick on me and try to beat me, and I was like, oh no, like, heads up, like, I'm coming for you. And it's that inner edge that I built at such a young age that I didn't realize I had when I got older, because it was just something I worked on when I was little. So I think that's super cool. So if any parents are out there that are like, oh my gosh, my athlete, my young daughter's a little softy. Okay, well, go have her play against boys. Like, she'll figure it out. Really though,
play in the backyard with some guys that don't really care if if they hit a home run off you or not. Like, it's different. It is very, very different. And I think that it's not even that. Like, you don't have to replicate, playing with the boys. There's so many ways that you can, build toughness amongst, girls that are trying to get into the game, but I think it's just that push and that edge of trying to get them to just be the best when they are younger.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I put on clinics, and we do tons of competitions because I love them. And I feel like it's one of those where, like, when you lose, you want to get back up and find a way to win. But there's so many girls and young athletes that I've worked with that say, oh, I hate competitions. I hate them. I always lose.
Right.
And I'm like, where's your fight? Like, and it's funny because I can't even pick out exactly where I got my fight, but I do think that has a lot to do with that.
A little bit younger. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. Crazy. So you mentioned your dad a little bit. I want to kind of get into that because he coached you. Did he just coach you in football, or did he coach you in other things too?
He tried to coach me in softball, and then I think he just kind of threw the towel in and was like, yeah, I can't keep visiting this with you, because he did coach my brother's baseball team as well. So he coached us in a lot of different things, like growing up. And then I think once we started to get a little bit more serious about certain sports, he kind of backed off just a little bit so that we could like really just truly learn from someone else and not our dad. I think that was huge. Pitching was something that I swore I was going to do. And, I didn't end up doing very well at that, but it was like back in the day, we didn't really have like lessons. No. Like I don't remember like going to anybody to hit or do anything like that. I mean, I learned that stuff during practice. But my dad was very supportive, and my mom too, and just whatever we wanted to do. My dad actually has pretty big of a sports background. He played college at Northwest Missouri State, which is where Maryville is at. Won a national championship there, and so he's just really passionate about football for the most part. But he was also really competitive with baseball. Growing up, he played baseball, and so we've always been a pretty big sports family for the most part. My mom ran track at the same spot, and that's where they ended up they're both originally from Mississippi, and that's where they met. But I think that for both of them, they always supported us in anything that we wanted to do. The only sport that I played, and not for very long, was soccer.
Yeah.
Soccer, and I actually played volleyball all throughout middle school and my sophomore year of high school. But soccer lasted probably about a solid month before I was like, this probably just is not for me. It was just this little rec league. And, I really originally, I just wanted to play because my friends had played it. And I was like, soccer's the one thing that I don't know if I'm, really interested in. And then, by the first month, I was like, this probably isn't something I wanted to do. And we hadn't even started playing yet. And I told my dad, I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think this is like it for me. Like, this is a lot of running for me. And I was really fast, but soccer is a stretch. When it comes to running, I'm not a long distance runner. And
yes, I totally agree. I totally agree with that, because when you're a sprinter, like I leave college and I'm like, I'm a base stealer. Like, I'm a sprinter. Wherever I'm going hard, and then I'm getting a break. I'm not running continuously. I hate running. And the same thing happened to me in soccer. And I was like, if I'm not a goalie, I don't want to play.
Same with track. I did track for a little while throughout middle school, and high school I couldn't do it because it was in the same season as softball. So we were in the spring, and so was track. But track was so nerve-wracking. I just really didn't like the point either of like running for points in my head. I just couldn't make it make sense. I was like, yes, I'm very fast, but like, I don't want to get this nervous before I run 100 yards and I'm just, feeling like I'm about to throw up. Like, the only thing that I really enjoyed was like the high jump. I really enjoyed that. And then like the relay, any kind of relay race. I always loved the relay races, but track is nerve-wracking, very, very nerve-wracking. So that wasn't for me either. But
yeah, and it's pretty individual.
Yes,
you're the only one out there. So yeah. I could see it being tougher. I never tried it.
And I think that's why I liked the relays, because I felt like more of like a team. It wasn't just me doing anything. It was more of a team. And I think that's what I was always just used to, was doing it with other people.
Right. That makes total sense. So you mentioned your dad played college football. And so again, I'm going to then say you're still my twin. My dad played college basketball. But because he did that, I felt like he was really, really tough on me. because he's just used to that environment of being around guys playing at the college level, like knowing what it takes to get there. Was your dad harder on you when you were growing up? I mean, you said he supported you with his whole world, and I think so did mine. But did he potentially, was he hard on you growing up? Like, what was he like growing up with you, you know, after a tough performance and things like that?
Yes. When it came to softball, that was the one sort. I mean, basketball, he didn't really ever say a ton. And I don't know if it was because he never played it really. I think it was maybe just like, you know, that's something she likes to do.
Yeah.
But when it came to football, very much so. I mean, I remember the car rides, whether it was complete silence or he had everything to say in the book. I mean, my dad was pretty hard. I mean, I will never forget first grade. He was coaching the team, and I kept striking out. And he was like, you know what? If you cry one more time, you will never play softball again. I will never let you play softball again. This is ridiculous. You keep crying because you keep striking out. Like, this game, like, you're not going to hit the ball every time, and you're not going to make the catch every time. Like, you are going to fail at this game. So if you can't take it, you don't get to play anymore. After that, I tried again. And, I mean, he was pretty hard as far as just, like, making sure that I was, like, working and doing things and just being on it, I guess, is the best way to put it. I mean, he always pushed me to do more. And I don't think I ever really understood it until I got to college, that, like, there was always so much more that I could have been doing. He tried. He really did try to push me hard. And I don't think I listened when it came. I mean, I think that was another reason why he kind of backed off the pedal a little bit of being my coach, because it was like, you got to learn from somebody else. I can't continue to, you know, just try and pry this out. And I think that was probably the biggest thing that he could have done, because so much now, parents are just so involved in wanting, it's like you give them away and you're letting them have a coach of a team, and yet you're still trying to coach from the side.
Yeah.
It's like, let these kids grow, and you can't be a helicopter parent forever and just constantly hovering over your kid and, you know, making them feel like, you know, you're the one that they should be listening to. Like, it's just let them breathe a little bit. There's no, I mean, you can be hard on your kids, absolutely, but like, you got to give them space to grow and to make whatever adjustments it is. And you just can't always they can't always hear from their parents, because at some point, in one ear, out the other. Like, that's just what it is. And if they are listening to everything that you say, not quite. I mean, because I understand it now more than ever, though.
Right. And I think the reason why our dads were on us so much is just because they had such high expectations, because they knew what it took to get to the highest level in their sport. So it was kind of just a matter of instilling those things in us. And obviously they wanted what's best for us. And my dad actually, he threw, like, I think my favorite thing that happened when I went to college, him knowing that I'm now going to be coached by somebody who's literally like the biggest professional there can be, you know, in college athletics, like, he let them do their thing, and he never coached me once after he let me go to college. I don't know why I said it like that, but he would always, though, be eager to, like, when I came home for winter break and things like that, he'd be like, so what are you learning? Like, what are we going to practice this month? And so it was kind of cool to see my dad kind of grow in the game with me and want to also hear, like, hey, what are some drills you're up to? Like, because I have Christina, who's my younger sister, and she's playing in college. And he was always like, well, tell me what you're learning so then I can teach her. And it was kind of like this fun little system. But it seems like, you know, parents that, you know, obviously that want you to succeed and thrive, they're always looking for new seeds and new ways to help you get better. And I believe everybody listening to this podcast is that parent. So I'm glad we're kind of talking about this, because it's neat to see how, you know, a player like you, 2-time All-American in college, had somebody that would do anything for you, but also, like, kept you accountable to those dreams and those goals that you had for yourself. So that's awesome. Okay. So first of all, we talked about that longer than I planned, and I loved it. Because I think it's just like, you can learn so much from just somebody's journey. So I liked that we unpacked a lot of things, especially the football part and especially the sibling part. But you did talk about your younger sister and how she's not playing softball. But, like, I'm pretty sure you love makeup. I'm pretty sure.
Makeup.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing it right now, but She's the one that actually got me started. I'm not even gonna lie. She, you know, every time I come back home from college, I'm really close with both my siblings. And every time that I would come back home, it was just like so much fun to be around both of them. But like, we just always find things to do, fun stuff to do. And like I said, she did pageants and still does pageants and all that stuff. And so as she got older, she got really into like just makeup and doing other people's makeup and doing hair and all this stuff. And I always just like, you waste your time with that. Like, I don't think I really started even wearing makeup until probably, I mean, I would wear mascara and stuff like that, but like actually wearing a full face of makeup, probably not until like senior year of college. And so I had never like wore foundation or anything like that, but I'm like, this is actually like kind of cool. And then I started like watching YouTube videos, and then I got really into YouTube for this like long period of time. And all I did was just watch YouTube tutorials. And then finally I was like, you know what? Like, I want to just start like experimenting and doing different looks and things like that on myself. And that's really where it came from. And now I'm just like all about makeup. I know all these different brands. I love doing other people's makeup. I've done a couple wedding makeup.
Wow.
It's just like my side hobby, and it's so therapeutic. Like, I'm unbothered. When I do my makeup, most of the time I give myself a lot of time because I just like to listen to music and like do my makeup or whatever. But I've gone from, you know, it used to take me like an hour and a half to do my makeup to now, like I can do a full face in like 20 minutes.
Dude,
yes.
teach me your ways. I do nothing. I'm like, mascara, let's go. Oh, I'm good.
Next. But it's so fun. I mean, that's like one of my hobbies, I would say.
That's fun. That's fun that she taught you that. And she doesn't even play softball, and like you're, you know, going and being a part of her world and learning things. I love that. Okay, so we're gonna God. We're gonna pause real quick.
I said now she's jealous.
Okay, sorry. It like when you were talking about that makeup story, it started like getting a little fluffy. Can you like say something real quick? Are they getting low on battery? Yeah.
No.
It was just a little choppy. Yeah. Say that again.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's like fluttering. I don't know how to describe it. It just started happening though. I'm going to pause real quick on here.
I'm going to make sure that my Wi-Fi is not sketching out.
Okay. So let's start talking about Nebraska and playing under Rhonda and Lori, because they are two Hall of Famers in the softball world. And I know there's so much that they taught you. I want you to unpack anything that you learned from these two amazing coaches.
Three, honestly. Coach Miller, she was phenomenal too. I mean, all three of them were just like, I mean, that was an experience. I had never played for a female coach either. I had always played for male coaches, even in high school. And so that was a little bit of a shift for me, because as women, we can be a little bit more emotional. And so I had never seen a coach so passionate. All three of my coaches were very, very passionate about the people that they were working with, and just everything that they do. They are 100% like every day you get the same. Like, you get the same person every day. And I think consistency was something that was so crucial for me in my career at Nebraska, because if I would have had someone that, was wavering or, letting me kind of slip up, I really truly believe that if it wasn't for them, staying the course with me, I mean, I don't know where my career could have gone, but it probably wouldn't have been very good. But I'll start with Coach Ravel. Man, the woman is like, I don't even know where to start with her, because I'm just like, she is such an inspiration to so many people, but like, she literally is like the heart of Nebraska softball. And she has given so much of her time and just so much of herself to making that program everything that it is. And, regardless of the year and the differences that the program has kind of gone through, I mean, she never wavers. I mean, she's amazing. She is so motivational. I think that was probably one of the things that I clung to the most with her, is that she was just so motivating. Everything that she said, from, you know, practice to games to individually, just the conversations that we would have. She just made me believe not only in myself, but made me believe that there was so much more to give always. And that's hard. To bring that out of people is very, very hard. But I think, like, with the heart that she has, again, and just who she is, her character is just, it's never wavering. And I mean, I love her to death. Now she's become one of my biggest mentors. I mean, she helped me get this job even. I mean, she absolutely has been, whether it's a teacher or a motivator or a confidence booster, or to just someone that I just need to talk to. She has been that, and all three of them have been that, to be honest. And it's so cool because all three of our relationships are very, very different.
Yeah.
I would say with her, I much so like look to her for like advice and just real life, you know, issues and my problems, and when I'm doing really well. And even as a coach now, I'm like, hey, I'm dealing with this kid, you know, what would you have done? You know, and she just, I mean, we're on opposite teams, and here we are. I mean, we play Nebraska at South Dakota State. So,
Yeah.
I mean, she could easily be like, I don't know if I want to get, but she's very just whatever you need. That's kind of my relationship with her. Coach Simple, I love this woman. She is so like bubbly, but so like real at the same time. She is probably one of the realest people, and will always keep it 100% with you, no matter if it hurts your feelings or not. She's just someone that, you know, that if you want a real answer and you want someone to shoot straight, she's that person. And I think that that's why our relationship is just so much different, because it's just like, I knew that, you know, I couldn't sugarcoat anything with her. I wasn't going to let, you know, she wasn't going to let me get away with anything either. And that was just really why I respected her, because she was just always, again, consistent and kept me on my game. She never let me come off of it. And I mean, she's silently like hilarious. Like, she's not very like, she doesn't have to like be very like outgoing. She's very, I wouldn't even say introverted, but she's kind of like, she's just very quiet about everything that she does, but very big at the same time. And I think that that's what makes our relationship so cool. And then Coach Miller, she was like my mom, pretty much. Like I would literally, like, she's like my mom. She's so tough, hard love though. But like at the same time, someone that I knew, like my life, I could go to her with more of my life stuff. Like, and it's a fun relationship with all three of them, because like I said, we all can talk to each other on different levels, and, you know, get to a common place. And with Coach Miller as my hitting coach, I mean, I give everything to that woman, because I mean, it was just all about buying into her. And for the longest, I always ran from her, because like I said, she was kind of like a mom, where she would smack the hammer down on you if you needed it to. And I kind of ran from her for a while. And then finally I was like, listen to the things that she's teaching and she's saying, and apply them. And that became a whole world of a difference once I bought into everything that she was teaching, hitting and slapping. Just doors were opening up, and I literally started to see that in my last 2 years. But I mean, they all three are very different coaches, but they work very well together. And I think that that's what people don't understand all the time, that because people sometimes expect coaches to all be the same. And, you know, if one coach yells, this coach has to yell too. And that's not how it works. It almost is like you work better as a tandem when everybody brings different things to the table. And that is exactly kind of like how they coach as well. Like, they all have so many different parts of knowledge. I mean, Sipple was the Canadian national team coach. I mean, Coach Ravel has been doing it for a really long time. Coach Miller's seen it at different levels of the game. So there's all these things that come together, and they make it work. And I think that they've always been really big culture people. I mean, the culture and tradition at Nebraska, I mean, sometimes I say it's like a cult, because it's like different. You know, a lot of people don't talk about, I mean, people are still talking about Nebraska to this day. And I mean, you see Nebraska fans everywhere. I mean, there's Husker fans all over the world. And I think that that is something that makes it really special, is that the people that are there, they say it all in. It sounds cliche, but they really are all for Nebraska, and it makes it a really special place.
Yeah, I remember playing there and I was like, these fans are crazy. Like in a way to where when you're the opponent, they're crazy. But like when you're on the team they're rooting for, you're like, this is awesome.
It's
Like
awesome.
you have the best fans. I think we went there and it was a good 45 degrees outside
And
and
they're
the
all
stadium
bundled
was
up.
packed. Like
They're all
everybody
bundled up.
You know,
Yes.
like they're not fair weather fans. They are just all Nebraska fans. They're going to be there forever.
I think it's nice because it's like they're the only there's no professional team in town. It's not like, you know, the bigger cities that, you know, you might have an NBA team to root for or an NFL team to root for. I mean, they are the professional team. And I mean, from rifle to bowling, I mean, even they had fans. I mean, everyone is a Husker fan, and athletics is just it's a big deal at Nebraska. So
yeah.
really
It's
cool.
such a cool environment. And when you say culture, I'm like, absolutely. That's one of the reasons why I hated playing Nebraska, but I loved it at the same time. It's like, you know, you're going to have to bring out your best to be this team.
Right.
And it's because of that, not just the physical skill. It's like just the family atmosphere. Like they play together as a team every year so well. And that's so cool that you're a part of that. So Coach Miller was your hitting coach. Is that what you said? So when you were resistant or hesitant to her cues, was that something where like she kept trying and budging you to like get it out, or was she just very consistent with how she was coaching and then it was up to you to start taking it in?
I think a little bit of both. She was very good at saying things a lot of different ways. And I think for me, learning like that was, as coaches, and I see it now, there's a lot of different ways that kids learn. It could be visually, it could be tactile. Like there's a lot of just different styles of learning. And I think that she was very, very good at just trying to lay it out and explain it, show it to where whenever it clicked with you, that's when she would really, you know, start working with it. But I think it also took me buying into a lot of those things. I mean, I had never really been taught to hit like college level pitching. So it was just a very, very different shift for me. But once I bought into it, she was very consistent with the things that we would work once she realized what worked for me, if that makes sense. And it's hard as a hitting coach. I mean, you've got to understand. I mean, I work with the slappers here at SDSU, and I mean, all of them are very, very different. And I have to realize that some of them might not understand the same, you know, cues and I guess whether it be motions or the things that I'm trying to explain, they might not always understand some of those things. So it is really important to try and find different ways to say things so that kids can understand. And I think that that was something that she was just really, really good at.
Yeah, that's the quality of a great coach. And it's so cool. I'm looking at this from the outside, and it looks like your coaching style is influenced a lot by the coaches that you had.
What?
Like
I mean, literally.
Yeah, I mean, your energy and passion, like I know this about you, is just unreal. And I know your athletes can say the same thing about you, but like, that's a little bit of Coach Ravel. Like that's who she was. And like you now thinking about your slappers, how each one of them is individually different. You have to speak to them in different ways to get the most out of them. Like, it's funny to see how they're working kind of like through you in in an amazing way. That's amazing. It's so cool. And honestly, I have so many questions about this simply because I had 2 different coaching staffs growing up or in college. And so I feel like sometimes I was learning, you know, what not to do, but also what to do at the same time. But it seems like more of your story is like, no, like they're doing a lot of things right. They've been here for a long time. Their culture is beautiful. Like, how do you make that happen for you? So what do you think was the main reason why your culture was so amazing?
I think it's because we worked it so much. I mean, we talked about, I mean, mentality was something that we always preached at Nebraska. Our coaches working really closely with our coaches and just doing different things to work our mentality. But we also really, as a team, we realized that like the culture, like our behaviors and the things that we were doing on the field, off the field, like they always mattered and everything always transferred on the field. So we understood that, you know, if we want to be the best and we want to take like, you know, this game to the next level. And my freshman year, the year that we went to the College World Series was my freshman year. We had a really, really good senior class, like very, very good leaders. I mean, upperclassmen in general were really good, but the senior class in particular, I mean, they were just very patient, but very stern at the same time. And walking into that, you start embodying it. So I think it really starts at the top. Leadership was, really big for us, making sure that, from top to bottom, that we were working as a unit and trying to be together as much as possible. I mean, off the field, we were all really, really close. And even if we weren't, you would never know, because we, all kind of were in the same boat of, if we want to move this bus and we want to move it forward, we got to be together. So, I mean, you had girls that grew up together, that Corona Angel girls that had grew up together, played with each other for a really long time. And it was always funny to watch Donna Tyson and Emily Lockman. These two were like so close that it didn't make sense. And sometimes they would get really catty with each other off the field, but you would never know on the field like that they ever were like that, because they were just so for each other, same goals, same action, like everything was just aligned. And I think that was something, like I said, we worked on all the time, was just being together.
Yeah.
And we embraced that and we rolled with it. And I mean, it paid dividends. And on, I mean, all four of my seasons at Nebraska, I would say were all really successful. And although they didn't always end up at the Women's College World Series, they were phenomenal teams.
Yeah. And it seems like it's just, you keep it simple. You play to win, like, and you fight for the people that are to your right and to your left. There's like you said, there are obviously going to be concerns and little mini fights, like, why is this happening? But then if you're reminded by the end goal, postseason, Women's College World Series, those things don't really matter as much. And it seems like your culture didn't really allow for that, because you were all just set on one amazing vision. That's so cool. That's so cool. What was it like? I have to ask, because you played with Taylor and Tatum. They were like, I remember playing against you guys, and I'm just like, they're literally like the best batter you could ever ask for.
Yes. My first 2 years, it's funny. I mean, Taylor and Tatum, they were like, they could not stand me my freshman year. I tell you, people think I'm like, yeah, outside looking in, it probably looks like I was, having a great time. But like, some of my teammates had to like get on my butt, because I mean, they just were like, Kiki, stop making excuses for yourself. Like, you can be really good. And Taylor and Tatum were those two. They never let me falter. And finally, it took Taylor just being like, Kiki, shut up. Like, you always have an answer for everything. Shut up. Do this you're told, and that's that. That was my sophomore year. Actually, yeah, that was my sophomore year. And they were like two of the best leaders that I've ever played behind. I mean, they just did everything right. Everything, the little things, from cleaning up after practices, to, making sure people were on time, to being, believe it or not, Taylor was somebody, 300-yard shuttles. Taylor was like up at the top with like top times. Like, they just outdid everything. Like, they always went above and beyond. And I think a lot of it was for themselves, like wanting to just accomplish so much. I mean, I know coming in my freshman year, something that they really wanted to do was like lose weight together. And they were just so dogged on it. And like, that was what they were going to do. And they were going to be better for the team. And it carried on throughout their whole career. Like, that's just how they handled everything. And it was always to make the team better. And so playing with them, I mean, those are my sisters. I always said that I was like the triplet. And I mean, I love playing with them. And then playing with Taylor at the next level and getting to play with Tatum as well. I mean, I got to play with both of them again professionally, not last year, but the year before. And it was awesome. I mean, those two, me and Tatum actually got really, really close my 5th year, as Tatum was a grad assistant and I was an undergrad assistant. So we've gotten to share a lot of really fun memories. And now those two are like sisters. And Tristan, the one that's still in Nebraska, that's like my whole little, that's a whole nother little baby that I have. And I love Tristan. Their whole family is just amazing. They are awesome people, really, really awesome people.
And did you play with Tristan?
No.
I didn't think so.
Tristan's first year was my 5th year.
Okay. How cool is that?
Yeah.
I bet Taylor and Tatum were like, hey, be tough on her. Like,
yeah. Oh, they were. And they'll tell you too, because the first year that Tristan got there, Taylor and Tatum were both helping with the team, and they did not let that child breathe. I mean, Tristan was kind of a little, she was having to jump into some big shoes, and she was kind of, being a baby. I won't, I mean, I'll tell it to her face and she knows I will too. But they did not let her falter. And I mean, she's one of the most outstanding players I've ever seen. She's so fun to watch.
Yeah. It's been fun to watch that too. I mean, just seeing, I mean, I have a younger sister and like seeing her do her thing, you know, with me being like long gone, it's just fun to see her kind of like find her own voice and create her own, you know, just game. It's just so fun to watch.
She's awesome.
Yeah. So you mentioned your pro career. So you were drafted, was it 5th or 6th in 2016? 6th.
Yep.
Yeah. So pretty high draft pick, probably because you decided to, you know, score 200 runs as a school record in your career, which is insane. Amazing. So you get drafted, you're playing for ScrapYard for a few years. Your experience as a whole before what we're about to get into, it was pretty good. I mean, I remember playing you and still like same thing came out. I was just like, no, Kiki's up to that. Scrappiest hitter I've ever met in my life.
Yes.
Here she
when
goes.
We played I missed that, man. When we got to play each other professionally, I was like, I just remember though, I don't know if you were grad assisting. I think I had asked you though, the year before you graduated, I had asked if you were going to play pro. I think I knew you were going to play pro.
And yeah, was like, you reached out to me on like Instagram.
Yeah.
I remember this.
Once you got there, I was like, oh, this will be so fun. Like I'll get to play her again. And sure enough, we play each other again. And I'm just like, I missed when the league was like there were so many teams that were in the league that it was just so cool to see so many teams playing. I mean, my experience with the league in itself, we as ScrapYard, we were only in the league for my first 2 years. So my first 2 years. And then after my second year, we decided to go international and play more of like the World Cup and stuff like that. I think that was kind of right around the time where we knew the softball was coming back into the Olympics. And so we took just a little bit of a different route. But my rookie year as a professional athlete was amazing. I mean, I loved every bit of it, loved my teammates. It was so fun getting to travel all over and really just play people that I was always like, oh my God, I'm playing like Lauren Chamberlain. I'm playing, I mean, with all these different people. And it was so cool to see. And going into my second year, I had actually gotten hurt. After my rookie year, I had shoulder surgery. And I was thinking, you know, going back, I was like, oh, this might not be, you know, the best. And sure enough, second year was not that fun of an experience as I just was dealing with so much pain and just trying to come back. And then that third year, we branched off into international play and we had split up into 2 different teams. There was about 40 people considered on ScrapYard, but we split up into like ScrapYard versus the internationals. So it was just a lot of the girls who were playing on international teams and ScrapYard girls. And all we did was really go on tour. We went to Colorado, we went to California, we went to South Carolina. We went to all of these different places and we really just were playing each other on tour. And that's kind of what that was. And then fourth year, we're back at ScrapYard, but we're playing in like the World Cup. We're doing all those kinds of things, just a little bit different. And then into this last year, that was into this last year, a little bit of a shift, to be honest. I mean, we were going to be playing about 24 games this past summer. We're going to be playing in about 24 games against the USSSA Pride. And to start it all off, the very first game of the season, general manager tweets out something from the team's account, pretty much just saying, you know, hey, real Donald Trump, you know, look at us all standing for the flag. And it raised some hell. And, you know, this was our first game back. COVID is like at its all-time high at this point. You know, we're still, you know, just trying to figure out should we even be playing. And so our initial, you know, thoughts were this will be so cool to give everybody like just something to look forward to, some hope, and bring back just something. And sure enough, it gets taken away the very first day. And my immediate reaction to the tweet was just like, you know, I was really upset, but more so that, you know, ScrapYard had been my family. I mean, I had never, had it really any indication to believe that, this was something that could happen. And with everything, it was right after the murder of George Floyd. So it was even a higher period of time of just like, heightened awareness of everything that was going on in the world. And, playing for this organization, I was like, that's now the organization that represents, me. Like, that was really what I was really sad about was, yes, the comment hurt, especially because it hurt with who it came from, because I was actually really close with that person. But more so that, like, people sometimes are just so ignorant to the things that are going on in the world, and, just having sympathy for other people. And so when that happened, I just, was like, I can't play for an organization that doesn't stand behind me, my community, and just like, and it had nothing to do with, her tagging Donald Trump, but everything to do with just like, this is the type of things that we've been talking about for like the last 2 weeks prior to, everything that had happened that night. And I had been talking to teammates all week. I mean, we were only there for 10 days before that happened.
Wow.
And I mean, there was people like, I had never played with Kat Osterman. I had never played with quite a few of them, actually. Some of them I had played with on ScrapYard, but there was quite a few people that I'd only known for like 10 days. And the fact that we all decided together, like, they were like, Kiki, what do you want to do? And I was just like, guys, I can't play for an organization like that. And the fact that everybody was like, well, we're behind you, like, we're out too. And I mean, when I tell you it was powerful, it was so cool to see. Like I said, people that I had only known for 10 days were willing to stand up for me and, support me and walk away with me. And I think something that is really important to understand is that we had two choices. It was either, stay and play for an organization that kind of single-handedly just like threw in the towel, or we could, walk away together. And so some people were like, well, that's not showing, the younger generation that quitting is okay. But I mean, in today's society, it's like, you'll never win. There'll always be that one person
Right.
that has something negative to say. But I think one of the biggest things was like, we chose that as a team and as, individuals, that we were all much bigger, and that situation was much bigger than softball, to walk away from that and start something new. And that's kind of where This Is Us all came about. So that was kind of how that all started.
Wow. So before we start talking about that and you getting to play with Kat and all these amazing things I can't wait to listen to, I looked up this quote that you said after the tweet was out and you guys were finding out about the tweet and things like that. You said something along the lines of, the pain was so real, it felt physical.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe what that pain was? Because I think it's really important for people to truly understand that it's not just something that went out and that we can just move over. Because in my opinion, this is something where everyone needs to listen and learn from that pain that you were feeling.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing was, for me, growing up in softball, I'd always kind of just been the token Black girl. Like, I didn't really, growing up, I grew up in a predominantly white area, went to a predominantly white high school. So there wasn't like just this, thing of like, I've always played with, Black people. I've always kind of felt like I've just been in my own little bubble. Softball's what I do. And that's just that. And as I got a little older, I mean, Natasha Wally was really the only one that I ever saw playing the game. And so she was obviously an inspiration to me, but like getting older and growing in the game, playing in college was the first time where I had played with more than just one Black person. Like I think that there was, at one point there was like 4 of us, and I was like, this is the craziest but coolest thing, because college was really where I like started to blossom and figure myself out, and that, I, accepted like I'm not only a girl, but I'm a Black girl, like, and that's okay. And in the sport, I mean, I remember my family, they're all from down south, and they always used to tease me about like, you play a white sport, you should play basketball, like you should play somewhere like where, you fit in a little bit more. And I was like, but no sport makes me feel like softball makes me feel. Like that is my outlet. And so for me, and this whole, after the George Floyd death, I was just like, this is all getting to be a little bit too much to handle, because I was just like, we're dealing with something every day, and something that we always see. People don't understand. People don't understand that this is our everyday. And just now, because things are being, filmed on TV and on camera, and all these things are being captured, you can't be naive to think that like this stuff wasn't just happening and just wasn't being recorded. And that's why I'm like, for a lot of my friends, they were asking, Kiki, what can we do? And I'm just like, I love that you're asking me, what you can do, but it's just kind of like, I gave this example. When the whole COVID-19 thing broke out, everybody was trying to figure out what it was, how you could get it, how did it spread, all of this different stuff. And I'm like, it's the same with when you're talking about Black history.
Yeah.
Do your research. Google is an amazing tool. And if you use it to your advantage, in books and podcasts, there's so many different things. You don't always have to talk to a Black person to figure out, some of this stuff. It's in our history books. And it's just honestly a shame that like, it's not, capitalized on as much, but it's, again, just the information is out there, but you have to be willing to learn about it. And that's kind of what I was telling. And I was like, it's really heavy on social media right now. When this is all said and done, a month from now, 2 months from now, as it has just gone back to normal, are you still, if I call on you, say, hey, I'm going to do this A, B, and C, are you still down? Because it's not that big on social media anymore, but I need you. That's, I think, what I wanted more people to figure out. And like I said, the couple of days leading up to our first game this past summer, I was having really, really good, genuine conversations with a lot of my teammates about everything that was happening. And I think that was the coolest part. So when it happened, it wasn't even a question. It was like, we're done. It wasn't even like they really even had to ask me. Like, I just remember teammates being like, Kiki, no. Like, you should, like, yes, we want to hear what you have to say, but like, we're done. Like, we're not going to play for something like that. So like, it just was really cool to see that I had teammates that were very, very aware of everything that was going on.
Yeah, I have goosebumps thinking about what your teammates being around you and surrounding you in that situation was probably like. That's so amazing, because here's the thing, those people that were probably saying, no, we're done, they didn't have to completely understand to know that
Right.
that wasn't right.
Right.
And right. That's so cool. Like, who, can you give me the names of those people? I mean, like,
hold on. I'm going to grab this.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's call everybody out on their amazingness.
So like, who are the people that like spoke up?
Yeah, I mean, like, straight, like, first people that were just like, what is that? I have a feeling Kat was one of those people.
Oh, she was the first. Kat was the very first person that was like, no, I'm not doing this. Like, no. Like, she was the very first person. And after her, I would say it was probably Sam Fisher. Mm-hmm. I kind of, to be honest, I kind of blacked out at a moment because I was like literally like in tears at my chair. Just, I could like not just stop crying. I was just uncontrollable. And I think most of it was just emotions of like, I didn't come here for this. I didn't come here for, I've already gone enough with just in the last couple of weeks, just being stressed out about trying to help my friends feel like what it is that they can do. But like now this, like, softball has always been an outlet for me. And now here I'm dealing with the people that I've been with for like the last 5 years, 4 years, whatever. They're, letting me down. And I shouldn't say people, because it was one person's, mistake that ruined it. But I was just so happy to be there and to be playing softball and to get to play with new people, that it was kind of, that was, I think, another reason that I was just so emotionally, yes, it sucked, but it really sucked because, again, it came from a place where I'm like, I knew this person very, very well, and I trusted this person. And when you put everything, I gave everything. I mean, I had gotten opportunities to go and be traded, or not traded, but go and play for different teams. And I just was like, ScrapYard's home. That was the first team that I had ever played for. And In the league, I mean, there was a lot of movement. People would, you know, go play for other teams or get traded or whatnot. But ScrapYard just always felt like home. I had never really wanted anything else. I loved being in Houston. I loved being around my family. I have a couple of family members that live in Houston, so I loved it. And that was really kind of because I was just like, where does this end? Because it's probably not with ScrapYard. And I think that was probably also another reason why I was just really hurt was I probably never get to wear a ScrapYard jersey again. I mean, when we threw off those jerseys, it was very adamant that, you know, we left everything in the locker room. We didn't want anything to do with any of it. And that was that. So it was just really powerful. And then when we had her come into the room, the GM, when we had her come into the room, I'd actually left the room for a little while because I was just trying to get it together. When she came back into the room, she wanted to talk to the team, and that didn't go so well either. And that's when I really walked out because I just was like, you know, it sucks sometimes. And it's not even her. I'm just going to say people in general. It sucks when people don't really understand and they don't want to understand and they only want to see their viewpoint. That hurts, especially when it's something that pertains to you. And I think at that point, that was like, you know, it's kind of like the whole all lives matter thing right now. When you don't really understand that it's not about everybody else, but about the one that's, you know, getting left behind, and that is Black people. It's if you don't open your eyes and try to at least sympathize or understand it, it's really frustrating. So I think that was where the root of my frustration lied, was when, you know, she came in and she started saying all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, you really just don't understand. And that's when I walked out. And about a minute after, not even a minute, and I really think it only took a minute because people were trying to get their stuff, but like I was outside for maybe not even 2 minutes, and by the time I had made it to the parking lot, everybody was outside. And
Wow.
and that's when kind of we tried to come together and talk about, you know, because we had to let the pride know what was going on as well, and that we were done, because they were on the other half of it. And I know that they knew, you know, what had gone on, but they didn't know that, you know, we were done. So that was just a whole nother entity that we had to bring them in and talk to them the same night about just kind of everything that was going on and where we stood as a team.
Wow. But there's a beautiful light at the end of this crazy tunnel. So you guys, everybody leaves, and within a few days, y'all come up with a new team and a new name, and you called yourselves This Is Us. And what a name. Like, can I ask where that came from? Like the name itself, like, did it come from someone specific or the TV show?
No, so we all got together the next morning. Emotions were very, very high. We all were kind of just like, honestly, at a blank stare. And we were trying to make the decision of like, you know, do we go home? Do we still want to play? And I said, you guys, like the one thing that I have just realized in life in general is, you know, when one person makes a mistake, or if something goes wrong, like you don't just throw the towel in because it seems very hard, but like just try to figure out what it is that you can do to make light out of something. And so I said, you know, if yesterday was the last time that I got to step on the field as a professional, I would have hated to end my career that way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really want to continue to play. And I know that like, this is hard, but like we can find a way. And so we all were sitting there talking about, you know, well, what is it? Like, well, obviously we're not going to play for the organization anymore. What is it that we want to do? And everybody's just like, you know, what if we, you know, just change the name? We could just wear, you know, t-shirts or something. Like, what could we do? So we're all sitting here planning, and we literally had like 3 meetings in one day. So we kind of had to take breaks because, again, like I said, we were all really, really emotional. And by the third one, we started to actually get to like brainstorm and of what we wanted to do. And we had 18 of us in this room on the phone as well, because there was a couple people that weren't there. And we're talking about, you know, the very first post that a lot of people were making was "This isn't us." Like we had no clue. We were blindsided about this whole thing. Like, this is not us. This is not what we stand for. And so we just kind of started saying, well, what is us? And we were like, well, this is us. We do, you know, want to empower each other, and we are here for each other, and we did all make the decision. Like, so that's kind of where it came from, of like, what is it that we are? And this is us is kind of like how we started to talk about it. Like, this is us. We are, you know, a band of sisters that are just really wanting to work to, you know, change the game and whatever else. And that's kind of where the wheels got turning. And then we were all like, what if that was just our name? Like, this is us, softball. You can add softball because there is a TV show, and we were like, oh, we can't steal that name, so we probably should put softball at the end.
Yeah.
So that's where it really came from. And then after that meeting, after the first day, we really started putting some things into work. Like, we were meeting every day, and we were just talking about, okay, what is it? How can we make this work? And that's when we really just started using our resources. I mean, we had so many people, whether they were sponsored by Adidas, Nike, Under Armour, Evo Shield. We had all these different people that had people that we could call on and reach out to. Black Star Athletics was the first one that I think Kat Osterman reached out to. They are a company out of Houston, and they were willing to make the jerseys for us. They were like, if you guys want to play, we can send you guys this many jerseys, we'll overnight them, whatever you need, don't got to pay for them, we got you. And after that, it was like Evo Shield, and then Nike, and then all these different people, because all we had was like red and black stuff.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to wear anything like that, so we just were like, well, what if we just got, you know, things that were just black and white, just very simple. And that's, sure enough, we started getting like things from Nike, from all these different places, and everybody was so on board. And then came Friday, and Friday came really fast, and that was when I think everybody was just like overwhelmed, because we didn't have a general manager, we didn't have an accountant, we didn't have anything. It was just the 18 people, and that was it. And it got really overwhelming. We hadn't even practiced up until Friday, and we played on Saturday. And we all were just like, is everybody in for this? Like, are we okay? Kind of had to do a mental health check, to be honest, because we had a lot of people that just weren't feeling it. And I was like, you know what, guys, like, the one thing I'm going to say to everybody is, like, we got to ride this wave. Like, we made such a big wave that we got to ride it together. Like, and it's going to get hard, and it sucks, but like, if we just stay with this, with each other, and we are for each other, like, I don't care how this turns out, but like, we made the wave. We can't go home now. Like, we've had so many people that have pitched in to help us to see this whole thing come to, you know, fruition. It just was like, just let it ride it. And so Friday was the first time we got to practice, and it was just like, you would have thought we were kids on the playground. We were having so much fun. It was so cool to just see everybody just breathe. Softball was our one thing that we just needed. We needed to be able to play softball and not have to worry about what time the game was going to start, how we were going to do the national anthem, all this stuff. Like, it was nothing else mattered but playing softball. And then that Saturday, at the beginning of the game, or at the beginning, when we were all in the locker room getting ready to take BP, everybody was just kind of like, breathe. Let's just breathe. I think we're all like really nervous, and like, this isn't us. Like, just breathe. Like, let's have fun. Today we get to play softball, and we get to play another game, and we didn't even think that we were going to get to. So like, let's just like get through this night together, and like, let's do it for each other. And like I said, we didn't practice that whole week, and we still won the game. And I was like, it was so cool to see. I mean, getting on that field for the first time as This Is Us was such a cool thing, because we got to honor so many different people. On our BP tops, we all chose someone of person of color, Black person, to represent. And we reached out to those people, and we asked them, you know, what does it mean for us to, you know, be able to represent you? And everybody got to hear their own storyline. And it could have been a friend that they played with, it could have been someone that they looked up to, but it was just really, really cool, because it was just like, this is what it's all about, is just uplifting each other and finding ways to come together and do it. And that's kind of where we got our 3 words as well, of awareness, empowerment, and unity. We got to sit there and talk about those words and go into depth with those words as well. Just like, what does this mean to all of us? And how can we make the softball community better from these 3 words? And I mean, like I said, there was just so much planning and so much stuff that went into that one night. And then after that, we got to play again, and then 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 COVID.
Yeah.
So I think we ended up getting to play 6 games as This Is Us, and then COVID struck, and it was just, I mean, Florida was at an all-time high with COVID, and we had had a COVID scare, and we were all around someone that had tested positive. And so at that point, you know, we all just were freaking out, because it wasn't like we were in a bubble or anything like that. We were all hanging out with each other. No one was getting tested on a weekly basis. So we all freaked out. And at that point, I think it was just all too much, because they were like, well, what do we do now? Can we go and get tested? We were just all trying to figure out. I mean, we were all over the place. And at that point, I think it just began to be a little too much, because there was a lot of people that, quite frankly, were scared from the very beginning. Florida was a hot spot. And so there was a lot of people that were coming from different places that were like, I don't know if this is like the smartest idea. And sure enough, yeah, it got to be very, very scary. But I mean, that was the end of it after the whole COVID situation. So
yeah, but the fact that you guys were able to rally and still create this incredible team is like, that's the season, you know, like the job that needed to be done happened.
Yep.
And I do want to unpack on your statements, the awareness, empowerment, unity. So in your eyes, Kiki, tell me what those words mean to you.
Awareness to me is, I mean, I think I got to see it and experience it firsthand. So awareness to me is just being aware of the things that are going on around you, being sensitive, not being naive to them, and understanding the things that are going around you, so that you can, you know, switch up your lifestyle according to. I think that some people, you know, are blindsided by whether it's their work or the things that they do on a daily basis, that sometimes they forget that there's just this thing called life going on for everybody, and you have to be aware of that, and being aware of people's feelings, and that people are different. And softball is one of the, I mean, it is a diverse sport in a sense where we have different body types, we have different races, just a lot of differences. The places we come from, why we even got started in the game. There's just so many different things. And that's, I think, the big piece is just being aware that this isn't just black and white, that there are so many things that are brought to the table with this game. So that would kind of really be the awareness piece for me. The empowerment piece is just empowering each other. We live in a society where, like, I feel like females are just always getting the back burner, like, and it's getting better. I will say it's getting a lot better, but just feeling like you can do anything as a female, and you don't even have to be an athlete, but empowering one another, lifting one another up, I think is just super important, like, to be happy for people and be happy for the things that are happening for other people, and that it will all come back around at some point, because that's just how this life works, and you just have to be patient for that time. And encouraging, whether it's the next in line or the people that are around you. Empowerment is just so huge, because it's just like, it really does change when you have an environment of people who are willing to bring one another up. So that's kind of how I see empowerment, is just.
So
Go ahead.
Before you go into the last one, I want to just like call you out on a good thing. The fact that when you were pumping up your team and empowering your team and saying, let's ride the wave. We started it. We got to finish it. You just pulled out a little bit of Rhonda. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what she would do in that situation. And like, you were on the ultimate stage to make that happen. And I'm sure your teammates are like, yes, Kiki's the reason why, like, we were actually going to play, because a lot of us didn't want to. Mm-hmm. And like, you just mentioned empowerment, and I'm like, you literally just lived that out in that way. And it's truly incredible to like get the inside, because it's amazing how you're able to take past experiences and feelings and truly create something so incredible. Okay, so I'll let you go into the last one.
No, you're good. I mean, I didn't even think of that. So that's a kind of a cool way to think of how that all happened. I mean, I didn't think of that as empowerment. I just thought of it as like, come on, guys, like we can do it. Like, let's just stick together. Like, just do it for each other. Like, and so that's actually a really cool way, because I didn't even think of it like that. But the unity piece for me is just understanding that when you do things in like solidarity and you stand next to each other, so many things can happen. I mean, you are seeing so many athletes worldwide now that are using their platforms and using their voice, and it's being heard. And when they do it in groups and in numbers, like it's even more powerful. And that was kind of like the unity piece for me, because I was like, I could have easily been like, you know what, I'm out. And they probably would have, actually, no, they wouldn't have. My teammates wouldn't have. They would have still walked out with me. But it could have been as simple as something like that. Had I left and they stayed, we probably wouldn't have made a big of a difference. I mean, it could have very well just been like, oh, well, we'll let that tweet go under the rug. Like, you know what I mean? But the fact that we did it together and we stood together and we were united together was like why we made such a big wave and why we've made such a big difference. And I think that was really how unity stood out to me. It was just doing things together and for each other, and understanding that even if you have different opinions, ideas, that you can still be unified and feel like you are moving in the same direction.
Man, you guys moved mountains. Like, it was honestly one of those where I was like, man, I wish I was in a This Is Us uniform. like it's amazing to see what could come out of something so dark, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm not saying that tweet ever should have happened. It obviously shouldn't have. But like seeing how something like that can make this come into fruition, especially for, like you were saying, a sport where we do have so many different types of athletes. Like I was thinking about that too last night. I was like, you know, you think about it, we have a sport where like anybody can play it, truly. And the fact that, you know, you brought that up, but also you're showing it all together. Again, I have goosebumps. It's fun to talk about the impact that you guys made. So This Is Us softball. What's happening with it now? What can we do? Actually, how can we follow it to just see and educate ourselves to keep looking into it?
So so at the very, very beginning, when we all left after COVID, we were meeting quite frequently, all the time, just because we were trying to figure out, you know, where do we really want this go? Where do we really see it going? And Athletes Unlimited happened, and there was a lot of people who were on This Is Us. I think we had 11 people. And so it got a little bit harder for us to meet, but there was still a core of us that got to continue to communicate about, you know, what are some future plans and how do we really want to run this? And it's kind of hard because it's like, you know, we don't want to take this, we don't want to take it the business route, because we want people to realize, like, you know, we might never pick up a softball again. Like, that's really the reality of it, especially with this year being an Olympic year. We had 9 girls on the team, 9 or 10 girls on the team that were a part of Team USA. So that leaves, I think, like 5 or 6 of us who were not. So with that being said, we were like, you know, I don't think really playing is what we're seeking, but more so, what can we do in the softball community to bring people together and to realize, you know, that we are all very different. And so I think taking it like the social media route, I think has been like really huge for us. Like, how can we continue to educate and share, you know, our experience? Because at the end of the day, a lot of my teammates had never even experienced something like that they had experienced that night in the locker room. So for them, it was all like a wake-up call of like, okay, there is something that we can do and we need to act on it. And so I think right now, the biggest thing for us, what we really want to do is just to be able to kind of, I guess, help, whether it's just information-based, help people kind of figure out. I know, like, we did a call the other night. We've been doing a lot of calls with different universities. So 4 or 5 of us will get on a call and we'll talk to all these. And it's been really cool. Like, from Fresno State to Cal State Fullerton to, I know we got to talk to Nebraska. We got to talk to Nebraska Omaha. We talked to my kids here. I mean, we've been talking to a lot of different schools. And I think the biggest thing is everybody has different questions and how, I mean, yes, they want to know, how all this came to be, but I think the bigger thing is, how can we promote diversity and inclusion with our team? If say, we had an all white team, how can we start that conversation? How do we have the hard conversations? And I think that's kind of where we want to step in and just like be kind of like liaisons and share our experiences, but as well, things that you can do to help. I know at one point we wanted to, just do like speaking engagements, but then it got to, ideas of wanting to do camps and clinics. This is us camps and clinics. And, whether it be the first hour is, defense or hitting or something like that. And then at the end, it's like conversation, just getting down and deep about just diversity in our sport and how we can, be a little bit better as a community. So I think there's a lot of different ways we want to go with it. But it's just one of those things where I don't think we've quite figured all of it out, but that was kind of like how this summer was too. We didn't have it all together, but we still made something work. And so I think that we'll work for the next, few years even. I think that this is something that everybody wants to continue to be a part of and wants to have a hand in. And, it might not be something that's, full time for all of us, but it's something that we all are very passionate about and we can all, contribute. And even, I mean, we had Tori Tyson on Instagram Live with Allie Carta. That was who Allie had on the back of her BP jersey, was Tori Tyson. And they just had like a really generic conversation. And it was so cool because so many people joined it just wanting to listen and learn. Like that was all it was. I mean, Tori being at an HBCU and seeing a different light was just so cool. I mean, it was just something as little as that. I know that we got to educate, whether it was 30 people on the call or 100 people. We just got to educate people. And I think that is really, at the end of the day, what we want to continue to do.
Was that on Allie's Instagram?
Allie's Instagram, or I don't know. Actually, it might have been on the This Is Us Instagram.
Okay. I'm going to look it up right away, and I'm going to make sure we put that in the show notes because I do remember tuning into that conversation for a while.
It might be Allie's. I'm not sure. You'll have to look on both because I know that if they weren't on Allie's, that they might be on a highlight or something.
Got it. Got it. Yeah. I'll look it up and make sure people can find that because it's a really good one. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I've already done so much already. But I know so many people listening are probably having the question of how do we start the conversation with our teams? And because I know a lot of parents and coaches are here. And, I feel like just even encouraging conversation in general is important. But how would you address, let's say, a coach or a parent that's like, I don't know what to say or how to say it, but how do I start something that can really make a difference?
I think one of the biggest things to do is asking, whether it be your athletes or your kids, asking, are they aware of the things that are going on? And if they are aware of the things going on, that's kind of like a conversation starter in itself of, well, what are your thoughts? What do you think about it? Just having really just a conversation about it. And if they aren't aware of it, I think something that you can do is, prompt it of saying like, hey, this is my viewpoint on this. What do you think about it? Or this is kind of what's been going on. And I know that, you might not know about it because quite frankly, so here at SDSU, my team is predominantly white. We have 3 Latino girls on our team and everybody else is white. And so for them, I know I had asked my girls, I was like, are you guys talking about some of this stuff on the team? Because I know a lot of them had reached out after everything had happened to me, but I was just like, are you guys talking about this kind of stuff as a team? Like, what are your thoughts as a team? And, a couple of them were like, some of us are talking about it, but like, we don't really know how to, get everybody else engaged. And I was just like, well, why don't you guys just have like an open conversation about everything? I mean, you're seeing all this stuff on Instagram, on Twitter, you're seeing all these different things on the news. Why not just have like an open conversation about it? And even though it might seem weird because you are all white, it's still the fact that you're trying to understand and at least be able to talk about it amongst each other. And I think that that's really just like the first door opener. And then if you're not really that comfortable with asking those questions, ask about people about their personal lives. Get deep, dive deep into, what makes you you, or, you know, what are you and your family, you know, talk about, or whatever it may be. Finding ways to just get to know your athletes or your kids just a little bit better, I think will start kind of sparking that conversation of where they like really like lie with everything.
Absolutely. This is so good. So before we get into our last questions, the 5 to Thrive questions, how can people follow you? Because I know so many people right now are so inspired by the words, especially the last part where we're talking about This Is Us and all the things that are going on with that. But I know people are going to want to find you. So where can people follow you? And what's your favorite platform to hang out on?
Well, for the younger generation, just TikTok.
Yes. A lot of makeup on TikTok.
I don't get on TikTok a lot. Like, I don't make a lot of TikToks, but I probably will soon at some point. Now my kids are starting to ask me to make TikToks.
They're hilarious,
Instagram
by the way.
probably,
they're so funny, like your cooking videos. Hilarious.
Oh my God. I would probably say my most active would probably be Instagram. I mean, I'm okay with Twitter sometimes, but sometimes Twitter gets a little much for me.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing just pictures and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty open to everything, like with my life and everything. Like, I post a lot about my family, my boyfriend, my professional stuff. Puppy awake.
Puppy's up.
But I mean, that would probably be, Instagram would probably be my most. Kiki Stokes 10 is my handle though for everything. So.
Awesome. Everybody go follow Kiki. We got to get these final questions in because my dog just woke up from his nap and he is going to be whining here for the next few minutes. So hopefully people can manage the squeal. Our YouTube viewers are going to be probably spoiled because I'll whip them out of here at the end. Okay, 5 to Thrive questions. Are you ready for these?
Ready.
You're ready. All right. Tell me, what is your favorite thing about the game of softball?
My favorite thing about the game is relationships. I am a relationship type person. I mean, the game is fun, but at the end of the day, I think my teammates and like my coaches, I'm such a big like relationship person. So the one thing that I always remember is like who I'm with, who I did things with, and how I did it with those people. So I would say relationships is the biggest thing.
Great answer. I love that. What was the greatest lesson that your parents taught you growing up?
I would say to never be quiet when you have something like really good to say, like just always standing up for yourself. My parents always taught me and my brother, like, you guys are special, you're smart. Oh my goodness.
Sorry.
Oh my God, no.
The dog just made it to the conversation. This is what Kiki's looking at.
No, but like that would be just always stand up for what you believe in and never be afraid to speak on the things that you know are true in the way that you feel, because your emotions matter and how you perceive everything in the world matters. So always just use your voice and stand up for what you believe in. They preach that heavily. Like,
I know they're so proud of you right now because you're doing exactly that. That's amazing. All right. It's one thing that you wish you could tell 10-year-old Kiki?
The one thing I would tell myself is that you are going to do things in life that you don't like to do, but you got to do them. Oh my, that is honestly what I would tell myself, because I'm always like, I had to really work to change my mindset of a get-to mindset, because I'm always like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that.
Yeah.
And I've just had to, I mean, I'm still struggling with that. Like, I still have to tell myself, like, I get to do these things. And I think that was one of the biggest things I figured out in quarantine was like, there's so much that I get to do that got taken away. But like now more than ever, I realize like, you got to have that attitude and that mindset of, yes, you know, you might not always do things that you want to do, but you got to do them.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. I know my sister's team, they adopted the hashtag #GetTo for that exact reason. It's like, you don't want to do a lot of things, but you have to. Like, you don't want to put in all the reps throughout the week to become a better hitter, but like, don't expect to get better at the high pitch if you don't, you know? Right. So good. All right. Who was your greatest role model growing up?
Oh man, this one's hard. Like softball or like just in general?
I would say anyone, honestly.
I would say my family, and it's not even one person because they all were just a big inspiration to me. But if I had to pick, it would be my brother and my sister. And those two really, just because my sister is younger than me, but I have learned so much from just her, and she's just such a good role model to so many younger. I mean, she's just so confident. I mean, I literally sometimes I say I wish I could be her because she's just so cool. And then just my brother, with just how much he strives to do everything the right way and pushes me to be better in everything that I do. I mean, I tip my hat to both of them because they're definitely who I always aspire to be. My mom and my dad, though, I'm not gonna act like I don't like give them props because they are great, but it's just like I was so close with my brother and my sister growing up that we fed off of each other. And my mom is an absolute hero. I think I admire her in a different way of just being so strong-willed. Not only a thyroid cancer survivor, but a breast cancer survivor. My mom is just like a fighter, and she resembles everything. Her and my dad both. I mean, they hold the glue together, and even though they aren't together anymore, it's something that like I'm just like my whole family. I'm very grateful for all of them and how hard they push all of us to be.
Yeah, that's incredible. Especially, saying that your role models are your sister who's younger than you and your brother. It's like you're always setting an example, when you have siblings. It's like I feel the same way. It's like every move I make, they're watching. And so if anything, that's like an empowering feeling as well. That's so good. So before I ask you the last question, I want to thank you. This has been such an insightful and incredible conversation. Honestly, you were one of the very first people that I thought of with people who I want to get on this podcast. You're right up there with Sue Enquist, who I just launched this week. Like, this has been so fun, and I know so many people are going to take so much from this conversation and hopefully start conversations and more of them. This has been so fun, and I just want to thank you.
It has been fun. I'm so glad that you asked me to. When you asked, I low-key was like, I get on the podcast. Because I just think it's so cool when people do stuff like this, because it is a good time to just like sit down and talk. And I know a lot of people just love listening to podcasts. Like, that's kind of like the thing now. It's just like, I'm driving to work. Oh, I'm listening to a podcast. Like, it's fun, and it's cool to listen to different people's stories and how, everyone is very, very different, but all at the same time. Like, it's fun to hear that stuff. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. This Is Us podcast. Could that be a thing?
That's not a bad idea.
Hey, I'll help you out. Whatever I can do to help.
That is not a bad idea.
Just an idea popped in my head. I will tell you, podcasting is fun. Conversations are fun.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, last and final question. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
What legacy do you want to leave on this beautiful game of ours?
Oh man, that is hard. I would probably say that I would want to leave a legacy of like knowing that like you are a person. When this game is over for you, you are a person, and you get to be in this world, and it is so important to be a good person, and you get to leave your mark on people in the game, people in this lifetime. It's so important to understand that everything is so much more than a ball and bat could ever be for you. And it's so important to understand, to love people, to care for people, to be honest, and to just live your life like, like you have one to live, and that it's not always just about something that is so monetary. It's something that like, you can't get back life. And I just want to leave a legacy of people understanding that it is always so much more than the game. And it can teach you a lot, but just be you and be confident in being you, and just love the people that are around you, love who you get to do it with. And I think that's the biggest thing I want to leave. That's my mark. Well,
you're already one of the best people that I know. And I'm not saying that because I'm interviewing you. You were one of the most genuine people out there. And I'm so excited for those people who get to listen to this conversation. They're going to learn so much. Thanks so much for being on, Kiki.
Yes, thank you. It was fun.
Can't wait for, the next conversation we have. Awesome.
Let me see the puppy.
Oh, he's right here.
Oh, it's a boy.
It's a boy. I should probably stop recording at this point. He is a golden doodle.